Let's hear now from Judge R. Eugene Pincham, a friend, a scholar, a jurist of inestimable greatness, our brother, Judge R. Eugene Pincham.
Assalamu alaikum. What high honor could be given to me than to have the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to interrupt his message to allow me to say something to you. I'm going to be brief, and I'm going to give you some information to tell you why I'm running. First of all, I'm running because the world must know, you must know, black people must know that we cannot depend upon our oppressor to liberate us. We must, if we're to be liberated, liberate ourselves. And though there are some in positions of so-called leadership who are in bed with the enemy, hoping thereby to deceive the people into believing they're doing it for the people when they're doing it for themselves, we must not be deceived. We must also be mindful of history. The man I'm running against is the same man who, when he was a state's attorney of Cook County, hired over 700 assistant state's attorneys, and only 35 of those were black. And yet he would tell you now that he wants to bring the community together. The man whom I'm running against is the same man who, as state's attorney, insisted upon excusing black folks from jury duty simply because they were black. And yet he tells us now he wants to bring the community together. The man I'm running against now is the same man, the very same man, who stood in a pulpit of a church on the south side of the city of Chicago, put on a dashiki, balled up his fist and made the black power salute and said he was initiated into an African tribe, and simultaneously his city is doing business with South Africa in violation of the anti-apartheid laws of this city and this nation. The same man. The man I'm running against is a man who said when people in public housing developments were complaining about the high gas and light bills, who said, well, they shouldn't bathe but once a week and cut down on their gas bill. The same man. The same man who, in fact, gave his contributors of $100,000 a pass when he got drunk and ran over somebody up there at the Drake Hotel and killed them. Same man. The same man, folks, who refused to support Harold Washington when he won the nomination in 1983. Same man who refused to support him again in 1987, who jumped ship and supported a Republican. I'm running because I know that for 50 years, black people in the political power structure have been exploited and taken advantage of. And so have the Polish people equally been exploited and taken advantage of. And what has happened has been the Democratic Party, hear me, for 50 years has been controlled by the Irish. Going all the way back to Kelly, Connelly, Daley, Jane Byrne, they've been controlled by the Irish. And the Irish have done what we ought to have been doing, that is they protected and promoted their own interest. That's what they have done. They have used our loyalty, blind loyalty to the Democratic Party on a national level. Those of us who go back to the Depression remember when Roosevelt came in and instituted programs to relieve us of the Depression, became loyal Democrats on a national level. and the local parties exploited that loyalty. As I'm standing here talking to you now, for the first time in 20 years, there's not now a black citywide elected public official. And black people are the largest single voting bloc in the city of Chicago. The largest single voting bloc in Chicago are black people. And yet we only occupy two singular positions in government in the city, the county, and the state. Roland Burris, Attorney General, Carol Mosley Brown, Recorder of Deeds. The only two positions we occupy, singular positions in government. The Polish community is the second largest voting bloc, and they only occupy three. Krusta is the lieutenant governor. That's a cosmetic office. Regina Pazinski is the clerk of the circuit court, and Harold Washington put her in that position. And Kazamuski, who is the city clerk, three. But let me show you what the Irish occupy. The Honorable Minister, let me tell you what the Irish occupy. The mayor of the city of Chicago is Irish. The head of the city council, Burke, is Irish. Phelan, the president of the county board, is Irish. Comerford, who's the chief judge of the circuit court of Cook County, is Irish. And in fact, 5 of the 13 presiding judges of the circuit court are Irish. The sheriff of Cook County, Sheehan, is Irish. The state's attorney of Cook County, O'Malley, is Irish. The speaker of the House of the state of Illinois, Madigan, is Irish. Rock, the president of the Senate, is Irish. The chief judge of the Illinois Supreme Court, Moran, is Irish, and 4 of the Illinois Supreme Court judges are Irish. The Secretary of State, Ryan, is Irish. Edgar, the governor, is Irish. Quinn, the treasurer of the state of Illinois, is Irish. Hines, the county assessor, is Irish. I rest my case. Of course we know we're in an uphill struggle. Of course we know that. But it's like when my young kid, my oldest boy, was going to high school back in the 60s and the gangs were prevalent. And he came to me and said, Daddy, what do I do if the gangs jump on me? Do I run home or do I fight? I said, if you run home, you got to fight me. You stand and fight. And one thing about it, if you stand and fight and put up a good fight, the next day they won't fight you, and you just might win that fight if you fight. You sure can't win if you don't fight. And so it is, we're in this race. And one of the reasons we're in this race is because every time we arrive at a point of advancing in the party system, they change the rules on us. And Honorable Minister, I'm in this struggle not for our Eugene Pincham, but for our children and for our people. I don't need the job. I ain't got nothing. I came into the world with nothing, but I'm not trying to get rich. I ain't been trying. There's nobody can tell you that I refuse to represent a client in 25 years of practice because they didn't have a fee. Nobody can tell you that I refuse to appeal a case because they didn't have a fee. I appealed over 200 cases in my career as a lawyer, won 90% of them, and never got paid for but one. I've been up against some of the strongest talent in the city. Jim Thompson, beat him 4 out of 4. But we're in this struggle for our children. They changed the rules on us. They changed the rules on Frost back in 1976 when Daley died. He should have been elevated to the position of mayor, but they sent an armed posse up to the 5th floor and locked the door and kept the man out. Then they changed the rules and decided to vote on the mayor during the next week in the city council, and they elected Blandick, and Frost voted against himself. They changed the rules. They changed the rules, and Harold Washington won the primary in 1983. Are y'all listening to me? They changed the rules. What rules did they change? 450,000 white Democrats who'd been Democrats all their lives became Republicans and voted for Bernard Epton before it's too late. They'd rather have an insane, crazy man who was white than an intelligent genius who's black. They changed the rules. Then when Harold won again in 1987, they changed the rules again and formed the third party. And the same man who's running for mayor today supported the third party movement. Hines, the first Chicago, and that fizzled out, he supported Badoliak. who jumped ship and became a Republican. And quite frankly, we have the greatest philosophers in the world. Aristotle and Plato are not the only philosophers in the world. We have a philosopher too. His name is B.B. King. He said, never make your move too soon. And Doliak made his move too soon. He jumped ship and became a what? He became a Republican, changing the rules. They changed the rules on party. He was a nominee of the party, but they didn't vote for him. Instead, they voted for O'Malley. We're in the struggle to stay. And it is indeed a sifting out process. We're exposing now the persons who put themselves ahead of the people. At least when Jane Byrne ran, she gave us watermelons. Now they're giving us lunches. And they're going to let us pray at the prayer breakfast. But don't be deceived. Do not be misled. We can win this election. The figures are there. The figures that Daley won in the primary, 100,000 votes less than Jane Byrne received when she lost to Al Washington in 1987. He won the primary with only 15,000 votes more than Sawyer got when Sawyer lost to him in 1989. But they brainwashed us into believing that we got to have somebody white to help liberate us, and if we wait on that, we'll be waiting another 2,000 years. We need someone in office who will stop police brutality. We didn't need to see that beating on television of King to know that there's police brutality in Chicago. We need somebody who's going to change the priorities of government and stop talking about building an airport when 95% of people in Chicago have never been on an airplane. We need to talk about affordable housing and medical health care for people. That's what we need to be talking about. Here's a man who wants his salary increased by $45,000 a year. He's not worth the $80,000 they're paying him. While at the same time talking about removing people from off the public assistance, same time talking about putting people out of public housing, same time talking about not building affordable housing. We need to change government's priorities. And I'm here as a candidate asking for your support, soliciting your support, begging you for your support, getting down on my knees and importuning you for your support. I appreciate you taking the time. I don't want to interrupt your services much longer, but I will say this to you. On Tuesday, you have an opportunity to go into the polls and to express your views about government. If you don't vote, you're saying you're satisfied with what's going on. And I'm urging you to go into the polls, and I'm lean. I'm mean. Beat the machine. Vote for Eugene. Punch 15. God bless you.
Now, certainly, I don't usually let anybody interrupt what I'm doing. But Brother has been very kind to me and to us. And I hope that those of you who know that I don't do this, never, will not look too hard on it, but I think the brother needed to be heard.